I'm a scientist.
You're a scientist.
Yo soy un científico.
You're a scientist. All right, so welcome everybody to the Mud Lab activity portion of our LEAF program here at your national park, Congaree National Park. And today we're going to be doing some experiments in the Mud Lab. But I want to break down a little bit, why are we calling this a laboratory? And what is a scientist? So I've asked a lot of kids this question over the years, what is a scientist? And a lot of the answers that I get are, well, you know a scientist when you see it. Maybe you're thinking of a movie or a cartoon with a scientist dressed in a lab coat with frizzy hair and goggles and gloves, and they're pouring beakers of glowing liquid back and forth. And there are some scientists who do work in a laboratory, and they discover a lot of important things and help us understand the world. But when it comes to studying your national park, we don't bring the park into a laboratory. The park is our laboratory. So as a scientist, when we go out in your national park, we're wearing boots, we're wearing jackets, and we're taking our tools out there. So as far as what it is to look like a scientist, anybody can look like a scientist. I look like a scientist, you look like a scientist. So think about that as we're working through this Mud Lab activity. It's not about what we wear, it's about what we do. And we're gonna be systematic, and we're gonna be honest, and we're gonna keep good notes. We're gonna walk through that a little bit. So in the Mud Lab today, we're going to be doing some experiments to think about what happens when it rains on different kinds of soils. So here we have a map, and it shows some different locations. We have a construction site, we have a bottomland forest, we have an upland forest, we have a driveway, and we have an old field. Now, all these different sites are located all around our land. We can see some forests, but in between some of those land features, we have water features. So these two little streams come together to form a bigger stream, and the big streams come together to form a river. This is part of the landscape that we have here at Congaree National Park. We would be at the bottom right-hand portion of this map. And Congaree National Park represents a special type of habitat. And this is a special word for an area near a river that we find, and it's called a floodplain. Now, how many of you in English language arts classes have worked with compound words? So we take flood and we take plain and we smush them together. So a flood is just when there's too much water and the water level flows all over the land. And then a plain just means a flat area. So a floodplain, and I've got a word here. So here's a word and a definition for a floodplain. So a floodplain is a low place that gets wet when there is too much water in a river. And so Congaree National Park is known as a floodplain. And down here, we have very special soils where these big old trees grow. But I want us to think about, if a rainstorm passes over this area, are the soils the same in a construction site? Is there any soil on your driveway? What about the soils in the bottomland forest at the park near the river? What about the soils in an old field where maybe people used to come and dump motor oil? Is the soil the same? No, it's not. Do you think the same thing is going to happen when it rains on all those soils? That's what we're going to do some experiments today to find out. So two things I want to talk about. One is going to be the speed of the water. And so I like to say, you know, some soils slow or soak water. Some soils may let the water flow really fast, but some soils may slow it down. Other soils may grow big, tall things called trees that will slow the water down. And so one of the words I want to introduce is speed. And this is one of the key observations we're going to be trying to make today. So speed, how fast is the water going? Now, in addition to speed, we're also going to be thinking about something else. And this is a big Q word, that is quality. Quality, let's read this definition. How clean or polluted is the water? And there's a big word in there that starts with a P I want to break down. Polluted. So, pollution. Pollution is something bad that people do to soil, air, or water. So if people interfere with the soil or with the environment, that can cause impacts to the soil, It can cause impacts to the water, the rain that falls on that soil, and some pollution goes into the air as well. We'll be focusing on the soil pollution and the water pollution today. But by learning about pollution, you can learn the things that you can do, even if you are 7 or 8 or 5 or 99. There are things that you can do to help take care of soils and keep them as clean as you can. So turning to our experiments, we've got some stuff here on the table, and I want to break out a little bit about what's what. In a few minutes, you're going to get a chance to watch one or more other videos with some other rangers talking about the experiments that they've got. But what we all are going to have in common is this. We're going to have this thing. Back up for a minute. Have you ever heard the word flume? Maybe so, maybe not. It's kind of a tricky word. Now, what if I tell you that a flume just means an open pipe that holds moving water? So have you ever been in a water slide? You've been in a flume. If you ever been to the amusement park and they have the log flume ride, like the roller coaster that goes down in the water, yeah, you've been in a flume. So the next time if you go to the water park or the pool, you can be silly and say, I'm going to go get in the flume. So, all right, we've got our flume definition, and what we've got right here is a big piece of pipe that I have used a power saw to cut it in half long ways. Now, right now, this pipe is empty, but this pipe is going to represent our land surface. And so the top is the top of the hill. Oh, there's a hill. Yes, we put this little wooden ramp or wooden riser up underneath the flume. So we have a hill here. We have a top of the hill. And then at the bottom of the hill, the pipe has a little slot where water could flow out. At the bottom of the hill, that's where the stream is going to be. That's where the fish or the frogs are living. Or if we think back to our map, this is where water will flow into streams, bigger streams and rivers, and come down to your Congaree National Park. So even if you live way up here in the upper left part, it still might end up down at the park. Remember, as scientists, we always want to be systematic and do things the same way each time. And in order to do that, we're going to be using a data sheet to help us stay organized. You're going to see our other scientists, rangers, use these data sheets. And the data sheet's going to look something kind of like this. You may have a copy of this that you can record some data to. The flume is also going to have a card that's going to tell you where you are. Doesn't matter that this one says driveway, there are going to be lots of different ones. And then it's going to, the back of the card is going to give you information. This is going to describe the flume, and it's going to give you a series of instructions. You're going to be given instructions how much water to measure. It might say measure half a pitcher, it might say a whole pitcher, but we're going to follow those instructions. There's a water bucket down here. And we're gonna be the rainstorm, and then we're gonna pour the water on the flume and watch what happens. In this case, the soil is washing away, but what process is this? This is erosion. Erosion, I'm letting the stuff wash away. In the flume examples you're going to see later, they are models for different environments and different things that happen. In some of the flumes, you're going to find that people do something to the environment. People dump motor oil, they spill trash. If we know that soils get messed up, then there are things that we can do to help stop that from happening. Even if you live a long way away, and even if you're not right near Congaree National Park, there's some river near where you live, and you can help take care of that special place too and keep it natural and healthy.